Another very fun tool that we're introducing in version 3.11 is called Smart Prong. It's here, Smart Prong. So before I start, just clarify now that I have all the stones the same size. Okay, Smart Prong, selective gems, and by default they default to 0.5. But we increase one of them, they will all increase at once. Okay, if we change one of the sliders, they will all change. Okay, we have this option as well. Okay, and we have a bunch of tools here to use. So for example, we can tilt them this way. Okay, we can change diameter, we can use nudge to move towards the center or towards the outside. Okay, we have a bunch of different tools here to use. We can use the fillet. Okay, and obviously it's completely parametric. Okay, we can also use tapered. We want to taper them down. Okay, and of course we have different layouts that we can choose from. Okay, and something that we did not have before on the previous tool was Prong Placer. Something that we did not have was the option to change profiles. So now we can change profiles to something like this, or we can add our own profile as well, just like we would do with any other command. Okay, so now if I want to go back to what I had at the beginning, I'm going to see something like this. Okay, and as I said, because it's parametric, I can now edit gems and curve, and it will update. Okay, so this would be one example using all the stones the same size. Now we can start over the command, or we can just change it. We can go to gems and curve, edit, and use the option taper end. If we now make it a bit bigger, and let's make this one a bit bigger, you will see that the prongs are changing. If I go back to my prongs, I have the option here, enable taper controls, which I didn't have before. And what this allows me is to change two different diameters, the one on the front and the one at the end, one on each side. Okay, I'm gonna go back to round. And as you can see, I have this slider here that I can change, and I can change this one. Okay, the same with height. I can change the height and the diameter. Okay, so I would only dictate one on each side, and the software will calculate everything in between. Okay. So even the height, if I move the height down, it's going to taper from here to the top. Okay. Another thing that we can do is when we have gems like this, so the taper is in the center, we're using taper middle here. Okay. We can also use this command, Smart Prong. So again, by default, it would be 2.5. We can increase it. Okay. And the only thing we need to do is enable taper controls. And now we can decide the taper here, the diameter on the center, and the software will calculate whatever is needed to fill the prongs on the other locations. So if I do depth here, see, it's adjusting. So now if I decide to change gems and curve, it will adapt. Okay, I can even pick the curve, choose control points, and everything is going to adapt accordingly. Okay, so that would be for the smart prongs. I can also dictate how I want the end. So by default, it's going to default to 2 prongs on each side, but I can change that. Start style, if I choose none, it's going to have 0. If I choose 1, it's going to have 1 on each point. That's just on one side because that's the start. If I want the end to be the same, I just need to go here and 1. Okay. If I want 2, I would go to 2. Okay. This is quite similar to what we had in Matrix 0, 1, and 2. It's effectively the same. Okay. Okay. So now we've seen how to put prongs using smart prongs. Now we can edit them. So that's why we developed this new command called edit prong. So let's take a look. Edit prong. And let's assume I want to move these 2 prongs. Okay. So I'm just going to go one by one. So first one, this one. As you can see, now it's selected. And I have this menu here on the dynamic command. That means that I can individually modify this one. So I can make it bigger. And I can use nudge, for example, if I want it closer to the stone. And I can rotate it, so I can move it around the stone. Okay. Let's say that I want it here. Okay. So now, you could say you could do this with Gumball. Yes, you technically could. But the cool thing is parametric. So I can go to my Gemvision curve, and I can edit slightly, and it will retain parametric information. I can, at any given point, I can go back here and change the diameter. And I can change the position. Okay. Okay. I can even go here, edit prong, change the profile. Okay. And now if I want to change this one, just go to edit prong, select the prong, and let's say rotation. We can rotate it to the side if I want to. I can also tilt it towards the inside, and I can, of course, do the same modifications that I was doing with the regular smart prong. Okay.